Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
May I present to you the cat?
I am the dog. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Yo!
And we are here to talk all things tech this week. And a little bit of last week since, we weren't here this week. We didn't.
Wasn't much happening last week, let's be honest.
Yeah. There wasn't very much. And, it is that time. It's that calm before the storm, as we say. We got an event actually tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guess, quote unquote, event. Quote unquote.
Yeah. Yes.
We got that. I mean, we got all sorts of things that are coming. It's that calm before that June, July area where all of a sudden it's just going to take off.
Yep.
So, well, why don't we start into this, shall we? The first thing here we're going to go into some Apple news. Well, we just mentioned Apple got an event tomorrow.
Yeah, let's call it an event. Let's pretend it's an event. This is, listener, it's your yearly iPad spec bump, which is about a year and a half overdue this time.
Yeah.
So up to this point, we've had iPad Pros that launched like 2 years ago, just about, that have had M2s in them. We never got an M3 iPad Pro. But tomorrow, Apple has confirmed we're having an event, and the event invite basically says in the icon, hey, this event's about iPads and pencils. So yeah, it's going to be about iPads and pencils. Rumor actually has it that this is going to be like a 32-minute video. And I'm like, Apple, at that point, I feel like you could probably have just written a press release.
An email with
posted these on your site. Yeah, this is a meeting that should have been an email, Apple.
Well, they got to
100%.
show off the new Apple Pencil.
No, it's gonna be it's gonna be a white stick about yay long.
Yeah,
that comes to a point on one end.
Hey, I don't disagree with you. I'm giving their reasoning behind it.
Their reasoning is stupid, but we already knew that. So here's what we're expecting at tomorrow's Apple event, listener. And I say tomorrow, by the time you're listening to this, it was probably yesterday. That's fine. We'll talk about it in great exhaustive detail next week's podcast. Mm-hmm. And by exhaustive detail, I mean about 10 minutes, 15 minutes is probably plenty. So yeah, iPad Pros with the M4 processor, iPad Airs with the M2 processor. The interesting little tidbit there is more than one Air. We're apparently going to be getting a smaller Air and a larger Air, similar to how you get a smaller Pro and a larger Pro. So that's fun if you want a slightly cheaper, 12-inch plus iPad. And then a new Apple Pencil, which some rumors have tentatively speculated is going to be called the Apple Pencil Pro. If those rumors are correct, that means that this pencil is getting added to the already bloated category of stylus sold by Apple. So that's a whole fetching product ecosystem for Apple at this point. So I really hope that those rumors are wrong, that they're just going to announce the new Apple Pencil, stop making all the previous iterations of the pencil, and just be like, hey, here's the one pencil. Here it is. Buy a pencil. Here's it. That's it. It's just a pencil. Okay, we go make one. That's not what's going to happen, but I can hope.
Yeah. I think the only real reason they can justify making this a quote-unquote event is the M4, because that's technically going to be a new thing.
It's true.
Because they haven't talked about
device with that.
Which is interesting to launch on an iPad rather than on a computer. Yep. Which I'm fine with. It's just an odd choice.
Yeah. I will say that it does mean that from here on out, you will only ever see the M4 more powerful than it is tomorrow.
Yes.
There's not going to be less powerful versions of the M4 coming out in, future Apple devices over the course of the next year, because the iPad is the lowest amount of actual power for the thing and the worst heat dissipation. So the processor performs its worst in the iPad Pro. So okay, that'll be fun. But I still don't think it's an event. I feel like this is just a press release and an update to the store. But whatever, Apple's going to Apple. We're going to get a 32-minute video tomorrow that is going to tell us that, hey, the M4 is 20% faster than the M3, and we have a new size of the iPad Air, and here's a fourth pencil for reasons that instead of having like a touch sensitive like button click thing like the second generation pencil has, it's got a pressure sensitive button click thing like the second generation pencil has. It's different. Buy it.
But what if
$40
the pencil
more
folds so they can call it the Pro Fold pencil?
Oh gosh, if the pencil folds in half, Wes, I will eat my pop filter on my microphone, and you can watch. Okay,
That will be on the YouTube channel, everyone.
That there you go. There's some content. That would be interesting. Pencil Pro Fold. What if it happens? What's going to be like? Your thought,
my strategy for eating this
yeah.
pop filter, because it's mostly plastic. So
I'd allow some mustard if you want. I guess I don't know.
Don't think that's gonna help. I'm gonna need like a blender. I don't know.
Blend it.
No, I think if anybody's going to make some sort of folding pencil, it's going to be Samsung.
True, but it would be funny though. It really would. Naming, right? Naming.
I mean, at that point, look, a pencil that folds in half is just going to be like a fidget toy. Kind of, it's going to be like those knives.
The butterfly knife.
Fold. Yeah, butterfly knife. That's it. It would just be like a pencil, except it's a butterfly knife. Okay. That would be kind of fun. That would be new and interesting and unique.
Just
and
kind of got it.
very, very un-Apple.
You just buy that even though you're not going to buy a new iPad. You buy the pencil because it's fun to play with.
Yeah, right.
Because it's a fun fidget toy. Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Why not?
Oh. All right. Well, enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on here. We've got a little Google news. Audio emojis might be a thing.
Yes, listener, you heard that right. Audio emoji. Because we need more versions of emoji, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh,
Yep.
you don't agree? Yeah, me either.
That's how that works.
Well, apparently in the latest beta of the Google Phone app on Android, 9to5 Google has found 6 audio emoji buttons that you can play short sound clips that you and the person that you are on the phone with will be able to hear. And we need that, right? Right?
Wait, like you're on a phone call?
Yes.
And you
Phone call.
Oh,
And
I feel so bad for grandparents right now if this goes through.
Can you not just make the
Grandma,
noise
can
yourself?
you hear this?
Is
Grandma, can you hear this at all? Grandma. It's like, man.
Just wait. It gets better. So,
oh no.
the audio emoji that are going to be available is a clapping one, laughing, crying, also known as the sad trombone, that, which, that's okay. I'm okay with that one. A partying.
Every time I call you, that's all you'd play. Wes is
Pretty
calling.
That's my ringtone for you, by the way. No, there's a partying one. I don't know what that sounds like, but partying. A drum sound like the brumts, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I would probably use that one every once in a while because, But the favorite that is going to be played by every grandchild to their grandparents is poop, also known as the fart sound.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
What? Why? What?
Because they can, I guess.
I feel like this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the purpose of emojis. Like as a communicator, I am fully on board with the concept of emojis in text-based communications because it allows you to inject some emotional context into the statements that you're making.
Yeah.
Which lets you write more complex thoughts into shorter messages, which is excellent for text messaging and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a voice call already, adding more noise to the noise that you're making with your face doesn't actually add any nuance or context or anything. You can just make noises that exhibit your emotional state. And, like the laughing emoji as a soundbite. Can you not just laugh?
No.
Is that like, are you like, what the heck, Google? You used to be the fun company, but now your software developers are apparently pathologically allergic to laughing. And so they're like, oh, I need my phone to do that for me. What?
So, you know, some people might say that this is the fun thing to do.
No. No. The fun thing was dessert-themed statues out in front of the building and having a mission statement that said, literally, don't be evil. And, like, I don't know, the fun colors and the Google logo that changed every day and being able to type in, do a barrel roll and have your browser go weird, do weird stuff.
I think
like,
this is one of those things we can put in the category of we're too old for this. But now we know when our kids have kids, we got to be prepared for this.
I'm gonna argue that no, this is firmly in the category of Google is too much of a giant corporation to understand how people communicate, because I have a sneaking suspicion that the only people that are going to use this are boomers trying to seem hip. Like that's
You know, one place that audio emoji, that's a really unfortunate term, but I mean, there's not a better way to describe it, I guess. But
Audioji.
Oh, you made it worse.
Audiojis.
Good job.
You're welcome. Can we should put that down as a mark. CAP Awards worst name. Let's see, worst platform. No, where is it? Where
worst,
we had
worst
something
tech
like that.
name. Yeah, it was
Worst
the very
tech
first
name?
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could say tech name. I could put that there, but we got to say Wes's Audiojis.
Oh gosh, no. That
Oh.
doesn't sounds like a horrible euphemism. Oh my gosh.
Audiojis.
That sounds like an audio wedgie.
You use an Audioji, I say adios.
Anyways,
horrible dad joke.
the only place
Wow.
that I think that this would kind of work would be in a messaging app, because, you know, you're
Yeah.
not talking to the person. You're not already making noises at them. So,
Yeah.
you know, why not add it there? That makes, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily use it, but it makes some sense in that, you know, scenario. Not on a phone call.
I 100% agree with that. I will say that if they want to integrate a soundboard into their phone and let you pick a selection of your own sounds to add into there, that is a thing that I might personally use.
Yeah.
It would be populated entirely with movie quotes or
Yes.
like musical stings or something like that, because it might be
Bueller.
kind of fun to be able to put, like, you know, the Psycho music into your phone calls and that kind of thing. That, you know, it's there
Bueller.
are some things where, yeah, exactly. There are some things where it's all like, yeah, you're having a conversation via audio, but there's things you want to inject into that. But I'm sorry, the laughing emoji, the clapping emoji, just laugh, just clap. You're already making noise. Just make more noise.
Yeah.
Wow, Google, this is some grade A nonsense right here.
But again,
Oh.
this is in the beta version of the app. It might not actually come to mainstream phones and devices,
I
but
hope not.
Hey, if that happens, then we got another category. It says best sigh of relief of the year.
if
Would be Audiojis.
if it doesn't actually come,
You
If
know
it
what? I'm
doesn't
going to put
happen-
this here. I'm going to put
Just
Audiojis
yeah.
question mark. Like
Uh,
it's if this either comes out or it gets lost, it's in one of the categories. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
yeah.
Just saying.
Hmm.
All right. Are we done with audio? Geez, should we move on?
They should never have been a thing. So yes, we're done.
We're done. Okay. Let's go to the next thing here. Let's see. You know how corporations have lots and lots of money? Well, they like to give it to each other. Google pays Apple all the monies.
Yes.
Confirmed.
Yes, confirmed, because, I mean, we already kind of knew this. It's been a thing that has come out every year. Google pays Apple lots and lots of money to have Google search as the default search on iOS and inside of Safari. And they also pay Firefox and other browsers to do this. But it was never actually told about how much money. It was always just an estimate, you know. But because the DOJ is suing Google for reasons, this time they're suing them because of monopolistic actions in regards to this exactly. But it has come out that they paid Apple $20 billion to do that in 2022. So that's a lot of money. And it also tells us that was roughly 17% of Apple's overall revenue for the year, which is also significant.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that's really all we need to say about this. We could go on and on about this. We don't need to, because we've done that in the past.
Yeah. I think it just goes to show how much Google basically doesn't care about any of their paid services. Because they're paying $20 essentially for no reason other than to have the privilege of your searches, listener. That's what they want. They want to be able to feed you ads on your search results, and then they want to have access to the contents of your search results.
Mm-hmm.
And they value that at up to $20 billion.
Yeah.
Which is a buttload of money. So,
and also, when you think about it, yes, they're paying Apple $20 billion. And then again, they're paying other companies as well. But when you think about how much money Google actually makes off of search, it's way more than $20 billion in a year. So to them, it is very much worth it. Very much.
Yep.
So yeah, that's really all we need to talk about with that.
Okay. Figured it's a good update since we talk about money transfers all the time. Okay, let's move on to some Microsoft news. Thought this was interesting. Microsoft does acknowledge the VPN connection issues on Windows 11 and 10. So on here on this article, I wanted to kind of read this. It's caught my eye, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of people that use VPNs, might want to know this. So Microsoft is investigating an issue that is causing VPN connections to fail on Windows 11 and Windows 10 and Windows Server. They don't have any deadline of this fix that's coming, but they did say this last update, this April 2024 security update, is when this started happening. So if you use a VPN, when you're using Windows 10, Windows 11, or the server, you may be having issues connecting to your VPN. And Microsoft does acknowledge this. There isn't a update or an ETA of a software fix, but if you're having issues, there you go.
You know, I have two things on this. First, I'm kind of surprised that it's an issue on Windows 10, because generally if it's an issue on Windows 11, they just tell you, oh, just go back to Windows 10, you'll be fine. And the other thing is, like, this started happening with a security update, and my guess is that it's not a bug. It's just what Windows was trying to do this. They don't want people on VPNs as a security risk, even though that's not why people use VPNs. But, you know, they're claiming that. Well, they won't claim that, but that's the reason. But now people complain about it, so they're like, oh, okay, fine, we'll take it out.
Well, remember, they said that Windows 10 they're no longer putting stuff on Windows 10, and you have to get Windows 11 to get the nearest updates. Then nobody went to Windows 11, so then they're reversing that and bringing everything to Windows 10. So it's obvious that this is something with Copilot.
Well,
or
they're
whatever's
bringing all the
going on.
bad things too, I guess, huh?
Yeah, reversing the bad back.
Oh no.
So, I'll once there's an update on there, I'll definitely report on it. But figured I'd let everyone know, hey, if you're using a VPN and you're having connection issues on Windows 11 or 10 or server, there it is. That's why. So you can either roll back your update. It says here the update for Windows 10 versions 21H2 and 22H2. So if you go before those, you should be okay. But that's up to you. We'll see. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go into some general tech news. We got the Razer mask here.
Yeah. Okay, listener, if you've been with us for a while, go back to 2020, 2021, the beginnings of the pandemic and all that fun that we were having. Everyone was making different masks
Good
to
times.
use.
Mm-hmm.
And that included Razer, the gaming company. Yes, that Razer
Yep.
made a
Yeah,
mask.
yep.
And it was everything you would expect it to be from a gaming company. It had RGB lights. It was, it was all the fun stuff that Razer would put into a mask.
Did they put an audio
I think they
thing
did
in
put
it where
a voice changer
Voice
in it.
changer.
voice changer? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're being sued. Well, not sued. Okay. The FTC is coming after Razer and making them give all of the profits, which is roughly $1.1 million from this mask. Yes, they sold that many of these masks because
That's sad.
people are interesting. But the
Oh,
problem
man.
was, so Razer claimed that this Zephyr mask was N95 rated. They never got it tested with the FDA or other
Ooh.
associations similar
Ooh,
to that.
dang.
And so those claims were not correct. And because of that, they were falsely advertising the fact that it was N95 rated.
Mhm.
So because of that, the FTC is making them reimburse everybody that bought one. So if you bought one, hey, guess what? You get your money back. So you have a fun mask from a gaming company, and you didn't have to pay for it. Well, you did, but you got the money back. So woohoo.
Yeah. Okay.
I never saw one in the wild. I never saw one out there.
No, I never did
No.
either, and I'm not surprised. Even though I'm surprised that they sold $1.1 million worth of it in profit.
Gonna say.
So that's that. I don't know how much they cost originally, but that's a significant amount of money they made off of it. So
Yeah,
That's-
they did.
that's a lot. But
Yep.
So, listener, if you did happen to buy one, just go. I don't know where to go to get this money, but be aware that you can get a refund for them. So, there you
It's probably on Razer's website, but hidden very, very deep.
go. Yes, probably.
All right, we'll move on from the mask. This year on General Tech, we got EK Waterblocks are turds.
Yep. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
So, listener, I wanted to touch on this drama simply because if you are in the PC hardware space, you may have caught wind of this, or if you are looking to get into the PC hardware space, you might be in the market for some, custom water cooling gear. And one of the brand names you are going to come across in custom water cooling is EK Waterblocks, right? EK make fittings. They make tubing, they make reservoirs and pumps and all that good stuff for custom loop water cooling a PC. They also make water blocks, as you would get from the name, for your CPU or your GPU, kind of regardless of what motherboard or graphics card you get. Like, EK makes a water block for pretty much all of them, which is kind of crazy. That's a ton of products, but they make them. They're quite good quality. And if you kind of, you go to pretty much any, like, how do you do custom water cooling YouTube videos or something like that, and find a tutorial from, I don't know, the past 10 years, from, I don't know, a Jay's 2 cents, or Linus Tech Tips, or Gamers Nexus, or whatever, you're going to see EK products represented. There's a ton of them, and they're all really good quality, and EK has been pushing to work with these influencers for a very long time. Last week, well, a little bit before last week, but then also last week, it started coming to light that mayhaps EK Waterblocks is not a great company to work for or work with. And a whole lot of stuff started coming out about how the partners that they had been working with for advertising purposes were not getting paid. And the employees that work directly for the company, particularly folks because this is a company that is based out of somewhere in Eastern Europe, and I can't remember the country. Wow, I'm such an American. Anyways, some country out of Eastern Europe, I can't even remember. That's where they're headquartered. That's where the main company is. They had a U.S. subsidiary. If you worked for their U.S. subsidiary, there was even odds that you were not getting paid, or at the very least, you were not getting paid for the overtime you were working, right up until they just unceremoniously dumped you with like no warning about a year and a half ago. And they still have a whole bunch of unpaid taxes in the state of Texas. So, all this stuff started coming out about mistreatment of partners, mistreatment of employees, and just kind of a general attitude of toxicity that pervaded EK's management as a whole. If you want details on this, Gamers Nexus kind of broke the news with one of their news pieces a few weeks back. Jay's 2 cents also released a video talking about his experience working with EK from the influencer advertising kind of perspective. And then Gamers Nexus released an hour-long follow-up video that was honestly fantastic journalism that goes into great detail about exactly everything that has been going on with EK over the past few years. And suffice it to say, EK are turds. And probably, vote with your money, vote with your wallet. Don't buy EK products at this point. Maybe the company can change, but it seems like it's like an upper management issue with their attitude and opinion of people in general that is the issue. So maybe it can change, but remains to be seen. If you are looking for other alternatives for custom PC water cooling, Jay's 2 cents has since then released a couple of videos talking about, hey, here are the products I'm going to be using instead of EK in my water cooling builds going forward. So you can check some of those out. Just basically, if you're looking for information on YouTube or in the tech journalism space about custom PC water cooling, maybe just make sure that the sources you're looking at are current as of about the past 2 weeks if you want up-to-date recommendations from companies that, as far as we know, are not treating their employees like slaves. So, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Good information. Let's go ahead and move forward. Looks like we're going to be talking about the Rabbit R1.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, Landon regaled us with the tale of the Humane AI pin, which is one of these little AI in a box devices that got teased at CES this year. The other AI in a box product that got teased at CES this year was the Rabbit R1, and it launched last week. And people have been using it. The one thing that I will say about it is that it looks way cuter than the Humane AI pin.
Yeah.
Oh, it costs $500 less too. That also helps.
That's the key. You know, it's funny.
That's a big help right there.
At the launch event for this device, Rabbit's CEO, or I don't know who the guy, his main guy there, I guess, he talked about how the Humane AI pen was MKBHD's worst reviewed product, you know? And he basically said this won't be MKBHD or Marquez Brownlee's worst product that he's reviewed so far, kind of, you know, making a joke at that. But I think the only reason it wasn't is because it was $500 less. Yeah.
Yep. No, and MKBHD's video on it, I thought was really, really interesting. Not necessarily for anything he had to say about the Rabbit R1 itself, because essentially his takeaway from the Rabbit R1 was exactly the same as his takeaway from the Humane AI pen.
Yeah.
It's a half-baked product that doesn't work. Don't buy it. Not a recommendation, even though it does cost $500 less, but it's less of a ripoff if you do buy it, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was like his entire review of the thing. But he made a point that I think speaks to this really. You know, it used to be that a product would be announced and then released, and then you had a product that you could use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it has more and more trended in this direction, especially with stuff like software products, like video games, but now with hardware too, where the product is released and it doesn't do anything that they promised it would do. And you spend all of this time, like they'll iterate, they'll update, they'll try and fix things post release and whatnot. And then like a year or two down the road, maybe you have a product that matches up with the promises that they made when they announced the thing. But it's not like the whole time period in between those two things, it's not a real product.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, Rabbit is shipping the R1 to people, but it may as well be vaporware for all of the functionality that it has. You know, none of the things they promised worked the way they promised they would work. The battery life is abysmal. It like sucks. Doesn't even have the swappable battery packs of the Humane AI pin. So
you can't
that's
set
cool.
a timer with it.
Yeah, you can't do jack with it. Like, that's so, I thought that was really kind of revealing. Marquez's point that basically, like, being a tech reviewer in this space kind of sucks because companies aren't releasing products anymore.
Yeah.
They're releasing the concept of a product in a format that it doesn't actually exist. And then they give you this thing and say, here's this product concept, review it. And he's all like, but the thing you gave me doesn't do anything in this concept.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to review that? You've given me these promises of something that sounds really cool and a product that you say is the same thing, but it's just not. So, like
it's like he's said that for quite a while. Like that's been his thing. And it's funny because he only mentions it in videos of products that have this problem. He always says, do not buy a product based on promises the company says. Because you want to buy a product based on what it actually does right now. And that's how he reviews products, which I really appreciate. And like one of the bigger ones that he did, it wasn't on his tech channel, it was on his autofocus, his car channel. He reviewed a car, was it the Fisker or was it, I can't remember.
Yes, the Fisker Ocean.
Yeah, the Fisker Ocean. And he even mentioned it multiple times in the video. He's like, Fisker has told me that they're going to be updating this car to do certain things, but that's not the car that I have. I'm reviewing the car that I have, and it sucks. And then and then actually he did get another car with the new update, and he said, it is better, but you still shouldn't buy it.
Well, because by that point in time, Fisker, the company, was imploding and trying to sell stock like of cars that may or may not have actually been real.
Yeah. And like side tangent along this, it's funny because like some of these companies, Fisker included, have started to blame him in particular for why, like, and it's not just Fisker, but other companies and other media people are like, is it his fault? Is it reviewers' fault that these companies fail? It's like, no. If reviewers are giving an honest review, it's the product /company's fault that the product sucks. It's their
Yep.
fault that they're going out of business. It's not because of a well-watched review,
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
you made a bad product.
100%. And I want to here is my statement for the humanes and the rabbits and the fiskers of the world. You have a product concept that seems revolutionary. You have something that in your heads is going to change the world. Let's take a look back in history at a product that demonstrably did, in fact, revolutionize the industry into which it was launched. The iPhone. Apple announced the iPhone like 7 months before they launched it. On stage, Steve Jobs stood in front of a crowded auditorium and gave them a series of demonstrations, including scaring the crap out of some poor waitress at a Starbucks of what this device would be capable of. And if you go and read anything about the behind the scenes for that event, it was all smoke and mirrors. Like, he had 4 or 5 different prototype iPhones, each one of which could do one thing.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them could do all of the things the iPhone was supposed to do. They could all do one part. And so he switched from one device to the other to demonstrate an individual piece of functionality that they were hoping to put into the device. Right?
Mm-hmm.
7 months pass. Does Apple release one of those prototypes that does one thing that was promised, doesn't do the other 4? No. They've released the fully integrated final product where they had fixed all of the issues and made the product that they ostensibly showed off on stage. Rabbit. 2 months ago, you showed us a device that was apparently all smoke and mirrors, and then you didn't take the time to finish it before you launched it. That's the issue here. It's not that your concept was bad. It's not that there isn't some kind of space for revolutionary AI products of this nature in the world. There is. Quite frankly, I think that Apple and Google are going to 100% beat you to the punch on that and absolutely eat your lunch. But
Yes.
there is a space for this to exist. You can bet your butt that Google is going to finish it before they launch it. Nobody wants to see your CES tech demo released as a product. They want to see your CES tech demo developed into a product over the course of time. What you released is not actually usable. There's, listener, for additional viewing pleasure, Snazzy Labs on YouTube has a video he just released this past week about the Humane AI pin and the Rabbit R1. Talks about both of them in depth, basically echoes pretty much everything that everybody was saying. He does point out that, a lot of people were giving the Rabbit kind of a little bit of a pass because it's much lower price point than the Humane AI pin. He's all like, don't let that fool you. It's as much of a brick as the Humane AI pin is. It's not functional, doesn't do anything that it promised the way that it's supposed to. And he's like, yeah, conceptually, it's great. They're trying to solve very difficult problems here, but the problems are not solved.
Yeah.
It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's just, these are not actual products. They're tech demos. That's it.
Yeah. And I've heard some people say that, why do we need a separate device that's just AI and whatnot? And to an extent, I kind of agree. But at the same time, I think the problem with these devices is the devices that they are. So
Exactly.
The example that I'm going to give that I hate giving this example, but it's the best one. The Meta Ray-Ban glasses are more or less a very similar product. They don't do quite as much in the AI sphere yet. I'm sure they will get an update and probably will. But something that is already an extra device that people are going to buy when it comes to products in general. Sunglasses, eyeglasses, just that type of a wearable device, and then you add the stuff into that, and those ones actually look like glasses, unlike Google Glass that did not look like glasses, and other like the Snapchat ones that are just ugly as sin. And then like these Ray-Ban ones, they look good, they function well. They've been getting really good reviews, surprisingly, despite the fact that it's Meta that makes them. But so like something like that, I think, is where this extra device thing makes sense. And why, like Caleb said, why Google and Apple are going to come up, yes, after the fact of Rabbit and Humane, but far surpass them is because, like he said, they're going to be finished products. And two, they're going to be earbuds or a watch or something else that has dual functionality that you're already going to want to buy that will probably tie into your phone, maybe be able to do some stuff on device because it's Google and Apple. They have the ability and money to do something like that. But also something, like I said, something that you're going to already want to buy on top of your other devices to utilize. And then that's where this extra device comes in. Whereas like the Humane AI pin, yes, it's a wearable, but it's heavy and it's something else that doesn't do literally anything else, and it doesn't do much of anything anyways. And then the Rabbit R1 is basically a square phone that is not a phone. I mean, it's stupid. So I get why they're doing these devices, but they're just going in the completely wrong direction, I think.
Absolutely. Yep. They were, like, conceptually, there's some interesting stuff going on there. But the form factor of the devices was not fully thought through.
Yeah.
And they released them long before they had finished their development period. But I think they knew that if they waited for them to finish their development period, they were going to get beaten to the punch by both Apple and Google, and probably Microsoft as well.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Are we going to get a Surface Watch that does all of this crap that has GPT integration and stuff like that? Probably.
Probably.
Is it going to be called a Surface Watch and be made by Microsoft? Hard to say. They might partner up with somebody. Maybe it's going to be a Samsung device. Who knows? But yeah, guys, like, yeah, I get that you wanted to try and beat the big players to the punch by releasing something first. But man, was this ever not the way to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I don't have anything to say. I mean, you guys said it. So.
Oh, this is kind of random, but goes along with it. I did find this interesting, listening to a different podcast talking about the Rabbit R1. I think it was the Android Police podcast. They mentioned how everyone that's reviewing this product had to buy it. They didn't send out review units. So anybody that has one and is reviewing it paid for it, which is fine, but it's like, so you really don't trust anybody because you're not just going to send it to them to be like, hey, tell us what you think. No, they have to buy it, which is another red flag.
Like, this is the only way we're going to get any revenue from this product is from the reviewers buying it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And hope that they don't send it back.
Yeah, seriously. They probably only have like a 7-day return period or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and move forward. Looks like we're going to get into some gaming news that we've got. This is just kind of interesting. I went ahead and called this one Sony's self-inflicted drama for their game Helldivers. So when Helldivers came out a while ago, I want to say it was like back in February, came out for PlayStation and the PC. And this has been a just massively successful game. Massive.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Like, huge. People are loving it everywhere in the world. Like,
honestly, this game is like the poster child for everyone making arguments about how turns out the issue isn't live service games. The
Yeah.
issue is the way that everybody has been developing live service games.
Yes. This is wonderful game. Everyone loves it. Okay, I haven't played it, but this game has made me want to either A, buy a PlayStation, or B, upgrade my computer. Haven't done either.
Yeah.
Yet. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a game it's pretty cool. I never thought I would have interest in a game that has friendly fire as a
Oh, it
thing.
looks so fun.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, the friendly fire is like half the reason why you play this game is so that you can accidentally get sniped by your allies and
right.
see the ragdoll physics.
The chaos. The
everything.
chaos is amazing.
It just looks like so much fun.
All of the above, an amazing thing. So when they released this for PC onto Steam, there was no requirement to have a PlayStation account. They did say that might come later, but the reasoning they didn't make it a requirement is because this game was so popular, the servers and the things that were happening, they just wanted to focus on getting the servers stable.
Yeah.
And then later they would implement where you'd have to have a PlayStation account that's linked to your Steam account. So PlayStation decided that this past week, that they made the announcement saying, hey, we're going to require that now that you have a PlayStation account that is linked to it. The big problem with this isn't really that they're making you have a PlayStation account. I think the big problem is there's 177 different countries that PlayStation is not even in.
Yeah.
So, which means the people that have bought this game would actually lose access to play this game because they couldn't get a PlayStation account because PlayStation is not in their country.
Yep.
So what had happened is, people obviously were very upset and so started to review bomb Helldivers for this reason. And so things went down, and Steam, which is really cool. Like, Steam was like, listen, we're going to give all full refunds for this, period. Like, if you want a refund, you get it. Even if you've passed if you play a game for 2 hours, you keep it. Is that Steam's rule?
Yeah, something like that. I think
they just said, nope, you get it. You get a refund. And so people were refunding, people were doing this. And Sony, I think, was realizing how much money they were losing with all these refunds. And it just so happened that Sony came out and said, hey, they pulled a Microsoft and said, hey, we hear you, and we're not going to do that anymore.
That's good.
So first off, good on Sony for not doing that. Or I guess walking back, if you will. Walking it back.
Yeah.
And allowing people. Now, I don't know. I was trying to see if there was any kind of thing forward, like, okay, you have to have a PSN account if you're able to have a PSN account, or if you're from a different country, you don't. Like, I don't know how the details there or what they're going to do. So obviously they want you to have a PlayStation account because they want your data. They want all that information. They want it. And they're going to get it somehow.
Well, and they want to sell you in-app purchases, and they want to be able to take a larger cut of those in-app purchases. And so they want to run it through their own payment system instead of having to go through Steam or something like that.
Right.
Like, there's reasons, but yeah, the optics on this were pretty bad, especially when you consider that Helldivers is a global phenomenon at this point.
Yes, it is.
Because the developers were like, hey, let's make a fun game and then figure out how to monetize it afterwards. And which is how you should do that, frankly. You ought to start with a game that is fun and then try and sell it.
Yes,
and that's what they did. It worked really well. It sold like crazy, and PlayStation was like, ooh, how can we get a little bit more money out of this? And didn't look at the wider implications of that. And I hope whatever mid-level manager made that call has been fired. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Sure, it hasn't happened, but it would be great.
So, dear listener, and if you're seeing headlines and all this stuff, and that's basically the premise of what had happened. If you have Helldivers, you have a PlayStation, you're not going to be affected. Let's be real. It's like in a country that has PlayStation, You have your stuff linked. All you got to do is create a PlayStation account if you're on Steam. But if you're playing on PlayStation, obviously you already have an account. So that's just kind of what that is. So just kind of wanted to give an update on that because that has affected a lot of things. And I'm sure our news articles, I'm sure you've seen all sorts of doom and gloom and things like that. So just kind of wanted to kind of explain what it was. And hey, Sony decided to backtrack. So good news there. So, all right, we're going to move on. I just wanted to mention the Xbox Showcase. They did announce that it is going to be on June 9th. And they said that they will also be followed by a deep dive into, and in quotes, redacted game. So
Yep.
as normal, they're going to have another event for a certain game. So last time it was for Starfield. You know, they had their main thing, and then after they did a Starfield thing, a lot of people are thinking this is going to be a Black Ops, the next Black Ops.
It's Call of Duty. It's 100% Call of Duty. They're all like, oh yeah, redacted, military, whatever. It's Call of Duty. Whatever.
So, and I mean, rightfully so. I mean, they own the company now, so they can do what they want and do. And I'm hoping they do. I hope they push it and use their power, or whatever you want to call it, to sell Call of Duty to you. So I don't play it, so I guess I'm just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's whatever.
And I mean, to be fair, I haven't played Starfield either, but
hey, I played like 5 minutes of Starfield. That's about as much as my computer could handle.
Man, you need to get a updated computer. So,
I don't know. I've got a play date.
That's Steam Deck.
I've got a play date and a phone that emulates Game Boy games. I'm set for life.
You're set. This is a good one. You know, the other day I was thinking about Game Boy games, and there was one I used to play all the time. It was that Mario. It was Donkey Kong, but you're Mario, and you were trying to. Obviously, it's a newer version of the old Donkey Kong. You just played all more different levels, but it was like this whole linear thing as Mario trying to save the princess. But it was like Donkey Kong the arcade, but they updated each level and did different things. And I was like, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, that would be one I would emulate on my phone. Just like, be fun.
I mean, you've been able to download emulators on your phone for years, man.
Yes, it's true.
Like, I don't want to hear it.
I will say,
new for me.
On all sorts of podcasts that I've been hearing and things that I listen to, people are loving the new Delta. Is that what it's called on there?
Delta.
Yeah, people have been loving
it's
that.
Such a good emulator. It's such a great app.
My favorite thing is when people are talking about ROMs, they're like, oh, it's so great. You can put every ROM you've purchased and legally have moved it from the thing and put it to your phone.
Yeah. This big old shoebox full of Game Boy ROMs finally useful again.
Yeah. So funny. Anyway, we'll definitely be covering the Xbox Showcase and the redacted showcase for reactions and for everything there. So, all right, let's move to the next topic here. Escape from Tarkov's self-inflicted drama for DLCs. Man, game companies, come on.
You kind of reminded me of this by bringing up Helldivers, so I figured I'd mention it. A couple of weeks ago, Escape from Tarkov, which, listener, you may be aware, is a game that people play because they're masochists, is as much as I can tell.
Dude.
The entire game's premise is that it is brutally realistic military shooter stuff where, like, you get hit by an bullet and you're pretty much toast because that's how it generally is in real life as well.
Yeah.
Which, sure, that's realistic. Doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, though. Gotta say. Anyways, Escape from Tarkov has been popular and has a fairly devoted player base for reasons that I can't quite understand. But when it was released, there was a version of the game that was released, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was essentially hey, you pay $150 for the game now, and it includes all future downloadable content. That's a lot of money for a video game, but I guess if you really want to plan on dumping a couple thousand hours into the game over the next few years, sure, the guarantee of having all the DLC, that's fair. So a couple of weeks ago, they announced some new DLC that was going to be adding a fairly significant update to the game, which was basically a standalone PvE mode that included player progression. Because apparently there were some like player versus environment, or there were single player modes in Tarkov before, but they didn't include player progression for the multiplayer stuff. And so they were going to be adding that in an update. And they were announcing that that would be available to anyone who were willing to buy this. Again, I can't remember what they were calling this particular DLC package, but it was like $250 or something like that. And of note, the people who had paid for the $150 version were not going to be getting it. So they announced that their entire community kind of started burning the house to the ground.
I can imagine.
As they should.
Yes, agreed. They backpedaled on it twice. They releasing a statement saying, well, yeah, but this new thing isn't DLC. It's different. Because yeah. And obviously
Just
nobody was
trust
buying
us.
that.
Yeah.
Because it was such a convincing argument. No, their argument for it was like, yeah, we consider DLC to be something that is a major addition to the game, because an entire single player mode that completely changes the character progression isn't a major addition to the game. I don't know. And so, yeah, their community was like, nope, that's not satisfactory. And so they're like, wait. Okay. We're going to change it so that people who have the $150 version are going to get access to this new mode for like 6 months after it's released. And that made everybody angrier.
Oh my god.
And so they were like, okay, wait. What we're going to do is everybody who paid for the $150 version of the game is going to get access to the new mode in waves after we've quote unquote upgraded our servers to handle the player impact and whatnot. I'm sitting here like, isn't this supposed to be a single player mode? Why do your servers have anything to do with this? Maybe you developed the game wrong, if that's the problem. just saying. I feel like that's kind of a massive issue for a single player mode of your game. You've got to upgrade your servers in order to handle the load. Anyways. So yeah, as it currently stands, people, if you did pay for the $150 version of Escape from Tarkov back in the day, you will get access to this new mode without having to pay anything extra, but it's going to take like 6 months to a year before you actually get it. And if you want it now, you have to upgrade to the $250 DLC to get priority access to it. So yeah, Tarkov, man, good job. Shot yourselves in both feet. And as I know from Escape from Tarkov, when you shoot yourself in the foot, it's very difficult to walk. So have fun with that.
They shot themselves in both feet, tripped over themselves, and face planted into the gun and shot themselves in the face.
They ran with the scissors stripped and fell on them.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
like,
goodness.
you guys, you're going to need some bandages.
Good golly. Man. All right. Well, way to end the gaming news. Jeez. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode here. Unless, Landon, hey, you got one more thing? Woo!
Oh, yeah. I have another thing, one more thing. That's what it's called, something. And it is also gaming related, so no, it's not the end of the gaming news. It is, we're going to bring it up a little bit, I suppose. I wanted to talk about a new hardware product. Again, not something I usually talk about in gaming. It's usually mobile gaming. Well, I guess this is technically mobile gaming. It is a new Android gaming handheld device, similar to ones made by, Asus or other companies. The company that made this one, I don't know how to say this name. Ayaneo Ayaneo, is that how you say it?
It's Ayaneo.
Ayaneo. See, this is why I put it in the doc instead of just, left it a surprise, hoping that they would know how to say it because I don't. It's the Ayaneo, right? Ayaneo, yes.
Yep.
Pocket S handheld. So, and there are multiple versions of this. So there's a 1080p display version and a 1440p display version. So keep that in mind. They do have slightly different specs across the board, but those are the main differences, is just the screen, really. They are both 6-inch devices. They both run the Qualcomm Snapdragon G3X Gen 2 because, gosh, I hate Qualcomm. This is an 8-core CPU. It's got an Adreno A32 GPU on it as well. The RAM options go from either 12 gigs up to 16 gigs of RAM. And then storage-wise, you can get 128 gigs up to 1 terabyte of storage on this device, which actually would probably be beneficial for a gaming device.
For gaming, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, which that's probably going to be pretty good for a device that doesn't, make phone calls and other things like that. It's got Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.3 in it. And then it's got your typical gaming controllers on the sides like, most of these handhelds do. So it is a full-on, it's not like a phone pretending to be a gaming device like Asus makes. No, this is a full-on gaming device. It's not a phone in any sense of the word. Although it does have a fingerprint sensor integrated into it and the power button.
That's nice.
So you can lock it and have that as a way to unlock it, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, that'll make it play nicely with just Android. Because
yes.
Oh, hey, you want to buy a game? You want to download an app? Let's authenticate with your fingerprint.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. Makes it a whole lot easier to not have to type in your password every time to buy a new game. And the price on this thing is actually pretty reasonable. So the 1080p version starts at $400, and the 1440p version starts at $440. So not too bad. They do go up to $800 for the 1440p 16 gig 1 terabyte version is, well, there is a 16 gig 1 terabyte version that's $760, but there's one called the unmarked edition. I don't know what that is. That's $800. So there you go. And they are supposed to be, they don't have a full release date yet, but they're saying that the 1080p version will come mid-May, so basically anytime now. And then the 1440p version will come sometime in late June is what is being estimated.
Yeah. Gotcha. And, Ayaneo, they've been in the biz for a little while making handheld gaming devices, so you can trust those dates fairly reasonably, I would say.
Yeah. It does look like a pretty nice quality device.
It does.
Like, the only thing that I have against it is it's running Android versus, the Steam Deck, is Steam OS and can run Steam games. Technically, you probably could make it work with Steam games on this, because I think you can do that right now on Android devices. I don't know for sure. I think you can.
You can do local streaming.
Yeah.
From a computer, via Steam. And listener, if this sounds great to you, but you're all like, I really wish it was running Windows. Ayaneo make Windows handhelds. There's a couple of different options for you if you want to. So, you can go check them out. They've got a couple of Windows handhelds that have reviewed fairly well. They've got a couple that haven't reviewed as well. So, maybe shop around a little bit before you pick one up. But this, I think, is really noteworthy for being just a lot thinner and lighter and smaller. And, it's more phone sized.
Yeah.
And it's running Android, which isn't the most amazing thing ever, but this is Snapdragon's latest, most powerful chip for this kind of use case, and honestly should be pretty dang good. And more actual pants AAA games are coming to mobile platforms. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And speaking of which, that's my other. I didn't mention I had two things. I have two more things. This is the
There
second
you go.
one more thing. Is a game from Square Enix called SaGa Emerald Beyond. Just launched recently, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because they launched it on console, on PC, but also on Android same day. And interestingly enough, same price, $50. So if you do buy this handheld or some similar device to it, you could buy this new game from Square Enix for, like I said, $50, but it is a full-fledged, console-like game that you can play on the go, which is really nice. I'm liking that more developers are starting to bring full games to mobile devices, and not just in the sense that, yes, it's the Steam Deck because that can play full games, but it's an Android device. Like, technically you could get this game on your phone if you wanted to. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because these type of games are going to be better with a regular controller. And yes, you can use a Bluetooth controller on your phone, but also don't do that. I mean, you can, but having the controller built into it is a lot better, a lot more user-friendly. But also at the same time, I would just suggest buy a Steam Deck, because then you buy the Steam version of this game, you can play it on the go, you can play it on your computer. Win-win.
Yeah, you got options.
Just one price there instead of paying $50 for both, because that's how you have to buy games and things, unfortunately. But yeah, so there's a new Android gaming device and a new game to go with it. So that's my one more thing, two more things for this week.
It's awesome. Good information. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast then. Dear listener, appreciate you listening to the podcast. If you want to get a hold of us, you can on our social media platforms, as well as callingallplatforms.com. You can also check out our YouTube channel that hasn't been updated just yet. But I have this feeling it might be updated here soon.
Sure. Yep.
Soon, maybe. We'll see.
Good luck
But you
with
can
that
always,
feeling.
but for you to be ready, you listeners, you can go to the channel and go ahead and hit follow, subscribe, or whatever it's called nowadays, and hit that bell. I don't know. It's a bell, right? It's like goes
There is a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know what? You'll be updated as soon as it happens. Might not be this week, might not be next week, but boy, when it happens,
you'll know
it's
about
gonna
it.
be huge.
All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.